Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to, oh my gosh, yet the start of another week. Happy Supercharged Manifesting Monday. I am so excited for this conversation that we're going to have today. We're talking about time and waiting for my guest to rejoin. So she'll be here. Just give us a second. But good morning. I wanted to jump on right on time so we could get started and say hi to all of you and give you all a chance to say hi to each other because I know how much you love to do that. And so while we're waiting for Teresa to join us, I want to tell you a little bit about her. But first, I want to put this conversation in context. Complete transparency. I happened to watch a Facebook Live that Teresa was doing last week about around this conversation of time and how we're in this illusion that there's not enough time, or like time isn't something that we can control. There she is. Okay, so I'll bring her on in just a second. And so I was so intrigued watching her that I said, you must come on and share this conversation with everyone in our family, in our community, to talk about this, because especially, so there's two scenarios, right? There's those of us who are aging gracefully and feeling like, oh my goodness, I haven't reached this level of success, or I haven't been able to do this yet, or I haven't done that yet, and I'm getting older and time is going by, and when is it going to happen for me? Time is running out, we have that kind of feeling. And then there's I don't know about you, but then been this like pandemic thing that we've been dealing with where I don't want to do anything. I am sitting around going, I just don't have the energy to rush and go. And then every now and then my ego comes in and it's like, yeah, but if you don't do it now, will you have time? Like, are you not taking advantage of this time? And it feels like this time thing, one way or the other, whether it's like, oh, there's so much time, I just want to be, or there's like time is running out. Either way, I end up having moments where I feel like a prisoner to time. And so I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are others of you who want to be in on this conversation. And so when I watched Teresa talk about this last week, I was like, yes. So hang on, I'm going to bring her on. There she is. So everyone say good morning. Hi, Teresa. Welcome back. We had a little camera thing going on. So I want to tell you, because Teresa is actually like really cool. I was hoping we would talk about this before we jumped on, but I'm just going to ask her to share while we're on. So I got to learn that she was actually served as a U.S. diplomat for the U.S. government, lived in 8 different countries. She shared with me that she had it all, lived in 8 different countries, servants, beautiful places to live, everything that she wanted, married to the love of her life, 3 beautiful kids, amazing. Everything that we think would bring us happiness, she had it, and figured out that she really, happiness was very illusionary for her until she started studying A Course in Miracles. And so the conversation that we're going to have this morning, I know some of you know about A Course in Miracles and you love it. I have, tapped my toes in A Course in Miracles a couple of times, and I love the teachings as well. And especially the conversation that we're going to have this morning is going to be amazing. So Teresa, one of the things though that I was searching back through emails to find was where you said, did you work in Iraq or somewhere in the Middle East, and you speak the language? I can't remember what it is. Can you remind me?
Yes, I went to school for an entire year to learn Arabic, and then my first assignment overseas was living in Damascus, Syria for 3 years.
Wow.
So at one time I was conversational in Arabic, but I've lost it now because that was 25, 30 years ago and I haven't practiced.
Oh, wow. All I know is you're really cool. I think that's really cool. All right. So everyone, send Teresa some love. And Teresa, I'm going to turn this all over to you. Tell us about time, and especially those of us who, I think, if we can steer this conversation to those of us who are in business and kind of have this feeling like time just keeps us prisoner, because on one hand, we want to enjoy and be, right? And then we have this guilt of, but if I'm doing that, time is passing by, and I'm getting older, and these benchmarks and goals that I've set for myself haven't happened yet. And if I stop being and start hustling and grinding, that's the only way to accomplish it. So you know what? Forget being, let me go work harder, faster, more. And we just get wrapped up and tied up because of time. So share with us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a real conflict between the being and the doing. And you and Diane talk about that a lot in The Science of Getting Rich, how we need to take action, but inspired action, not just routine action and busy work. So when I first heard this concept that time was an illusion, which is what A Course in Miracles teaches, it really boggled my mind. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was like, how can time be an illusion? Because we so clearly know that there only seems to be so much time in a day, right? We all seem to only have 24 hours.
Right.
And even though I know, like, historically, that man created calendars and we created, when I lived overseas, I found out, for example, when I lived in Nepal, they're on a whole different calendar system from us. They're not in the year 2020. They're on a Hindu calendar that dates back far beyond the birth of Christ, and they're in, I don't know, 4562 or something.
Oh my gosh.
So when I saw that, it became clear that time is a construct that humans created, and we measure time with clocks, and we invented clocks. So that part I could kind of grasp, that it's not, that's part is artificial. But that being said, we still see the sun come up every morning and go down every night. And we see people aging, we see birth and death, and we see that everyone seems to be on this timeline. And that seems to be a part of nature. And it is, when you think of yourself as a body living in a three-dimensional world, you are prisoner, as you said, to these laws of physics that Newton came up with, Newtonian physics, where everything has a limited capacity, okay? But now, in this day and age, we have learned through quantum physics that there's another level to things. So at that physical level where you're a body, you're trapped in time, absolutely. But when you go to a spiritual level and you look at things from a quantum level, anything is a possibility. In any moment, anything can happen. So you're not trapped going on one direction and stuck there forever. When you stop in the now, in the present moment, there are infinite possibilities. So I don't know if you're familiar with the double slit experiment that shows that light can be both a particle and a wave. If you're on the wave, it seems to be that, but in any moment it could change and become a particle. And so A Course in Miracles describes this as a shift in perception from the horizontal plane to the vertical plane. And when we shift from the horizontal plane to the vertical plane in an instant, it gives us access to that higher dimension. So, and this is where we can control time. So A Course in Miracles says that the miracle is the only tool at your disposal that allows you to control time.
Okay, guys, hold on. The miracle is the only tool at your disposal which allows you to control time.
Right.
What's the miracle?
So a miracle always involves an infusion of love into any situation. And what happens for us is, and we don't realize that we're doing this, but what happens for us as humans is that we have all these blockages that prevent the love from pouring in. So the holy instant, which I talked about in my video, and I'm going to show you guys a visual aid that I made, is the device that allows us to shift from this horizontal perspective on the timeline to the vertical and access a higher realm and access this quantum level of possibilities. Okay, so here's my chart.
All right, I'm gonna turn my camera off so that you have more. Oh, all right. So this is a visual representation that I made of us living on this timeline. And we go through life and we have all kinds of activities. And it appears to us as if we're born at one end of the timeline, and then we die at the other end of the timeline. And this is a limited amount of time to get things done in our life. But the whole instant, which of course another part, the whole instant is available to us at any given time. And it involves stopping in the present moment, taking a little pause, and allowing ourselves to access this time realm, like I said. In the whole instant, we're actually spiritually lifted out of the physical body, lifted into the higher realm.
So the divine inspiration can drop back into us at the timeline where whatever point we happen to be in. But what happens is,
Teresa, can you hear me? So something happened. I think when you moved, I'm not sure if it's because I turned off my thing or you moved away too far. They couldn't hear you. So I'm gonna, if you, can, so let's, please, can you use your headphones? Too far from the microphone. So I think they were hearing you clearly when I was on. So can you start over again and just stay as close to your, right there is perfect. So can you start describing your diagram again?
Okay, can you hear me all right now?
Yes, yes.
All right, so I have a visual representation here of your timeline in life. And it appears that you start here with your birth and you travel along a limited amount of time and you end up at the end with death. And that's what it seems like for most of us, that we're involved in all this activity and then we just run out of time. But the teaching of A Course in Miracles says there's something called the holy instant, and it's described as an out of pattern time interval. So we have this pattern where we do things every day. That's our pattern. And we get stressed out and we get uptight and whatever we do. And we can pause in this holy instant and access a higher realm where we can receive inspiration and then drop back in and pick up where we left off. But when we engage in the holy instant, what happens is when we drop back down, we don't land on the same timeline. We actually land on a different timeline that enables us to go forward in a different manner and have a completely different experience.
And that's why I had her on this morning. Because when I saw that, I was like, look at all the different options, none of which include that straight line that you had, which was struggle and grind and do it again tomorrow and again the next day. It's like, how can I open myself up to different timelines? And there was a movie that you referenced, which I watched. I just can't remember the title right now, which I think was, really good.
It's called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, and it came out in 1998. And in that movie, Gwyneth Paltrow is racing to catch a subway train, and the movie diverges into two different versions of her life. In one version, she catches the train and certain things happen. In the other version, she misses the train and other things happen. And it shows how there are parallel timelines, parallel realities, and that in that one moment, whether she gets on the train or not, it can result in two completely different outcomes. And this is happening for us in every moment of every day. We always have the possibility and the opportunity to shift to a different timeline. So A Course in Miracles says that the holy instant is an out of pattern time interval, an out of pattern time interval. So when we're on this pattern where we're racing with a lot of activity, or it doesn't have to be activity. It can just be mental activity. When we're in a pattern of worrying, stressing, freaking out, we can shift to a different timeline by engaging in the holy instant. And I have 4 steps here to explain to you how to do that. So
get ready, guys. I'm pen and paper. My phone. Go ahead.
The first step is awareness. So what happens for many of us is we will be engaging in something and feel really stressed and uptight and not even realize it because we're so used to it. We're so used to being like tense, it seems normal. So the first step is to become aware of the fact that I don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing something and it's uncomfortable. I have knots in my stomach and I don't want to feel this way. The second step is to just stop and pause and take a breath and allow yourself an instant to just slow down a little bit. And then the third step is to ask for guidance. Now, you can ask for guidance from whoever resonates with you. It can be your angels, it could be Jesus, it could be the universe, it could be God. For me, I ask for guidance from the Holy Spirit because that's my practice, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you are willing to realize that you don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it done perfectly by stressing out like you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you're open to receive some higher inspiration, higher intelligence to help you out.
Yeah.
And then the fourth step, which I think is the hardest for us, especially as entrepreneurs, is to hand the problem over. A Course in Miracles calls this laying it on the altar.
Mm.
In 12 step, they call it surrender or letting go, letting God. In country music, they call it letting Jesus take the wheel. It doesn't matter how you picture it. It matters that you're willing to release your struggle, release your worry, your mental upset, and say to yourself, this isn't working for me. I'm going to let you take charge. I'm going to let somebody else figure this out. I'm going to let some higher intelligence figure it out for me.
Right.
And I think this is really hard for entrepreneurs because when you have your own business, everything depends on you. It's not like you can just
So we think.
Exactly. Yeah. We have this mental idea that, we can't just go to work, clock in, do our job for 8 hours and clock out and go home and forget about it, that we have to constantly be thinking about what it is we're doing and how we can do it better. And it's all on us. So this is a device that allows us to still be in charge of our business, but not be in charge of trying to solve every single little detail. Let the universe work that out and we receive it.
Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to hand it over and then let it go. And it's hard when you're in the practice of holding on to the worry because it's just a bad habit, really. It takes practice. But I think of it like if you were to plant a garden, you wouldn't go plant a seed and then like 5 minutes later, dig it up and see, is it growing? What's happening? Does it have roots yet? You have to let nature be in charge of that process. So you're in charge of planting the seed, watering it, giving it nutrients, whatever it needs. But then there's a part of it that you're not in charge of, that the universe is in charge of. And you have to be willing to let go enough to allow that process to take place, and so your plant can flourish. So what I really want to emphasize here is that even though time is a fixed thing in our 3D reality, your experience of time is fluid. Your experience of time. And there's a funny story about Albert Einstein. I don't know if it's a verified quote or not, but supposedly someone asked him to explain his theory of relativity. And he said, when you're sitting on a hot stove, 1 minute feels like 2 hours. But when you're sitting with a pretty girl, 2 hours feels like 1 minute. And that's relativity. So our experience of time is relative. And the holy instant is a device that allows us to have a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So you had said that there was an example that you could share from your life when you practiced this and had a different possibility show up. Can you share that?
Yes. So the first time that this happened to me, it was in 2014, and I had 2 daughters at the time in high school. And I was one of those moms who always took care of the kids first, and my husband first, and the dog first. And then if there was any time left over at all, I would take care of me. But usually there wasn't any time left.
Right.
And so my practice in those days was to run around sort of in a panic all day long, trying to cram as many things in as I could. And I was always late. I always got speeding tickets. I was always racing around like a mad woman. And on this particular day, I had decided that I really wanted to tune into a live broadcast on my computer to hear an interview with someone that was going to happen at 3:00. And I worked hard all morning, and I had a very, very late lunch break. And I sat down at 3:00 with my lunch in front of my computer to watch this broadcast. And I got in the middle of it, and my daughter texted me from high school and said, "Mom, I forgot my lacrosse gear. Can you bring it to the school?" And I had this little like conflict with myself. Like, what do I do? Do I stay here to finish watching the live broadcast? I didn't realize at that time there would be a replay and I could watch it later. Or do I jump in my car and run to the high school?
Yeah.
And it was really the first time, I think, as a parent, that I decided to honor myself and do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I engaged in the holy instant. I paused. I asked for guidance from Holy Spirit. And I felt in my heart that what I truly wanted to do was finish watching my broadcast. And that's what I decided to do. And I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel guilty. I just thought, whatever happens, the chips fall where they may. And I completed that. Well, when I finished, it was 3:40 and school ended at 3:43. And it was at least 15 minutes to get from my house to the school. So I knew I couldn't be there in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I decided I'm not going to worry about it. I put the lacrosse gear in the car. I drove over there very calmly. And when I got to the high school, it was pandemonium. 1,000 students and parents and teachers were all in the parking lot with buses and cars and pedestrians. It was just chaos magnified. And I called my daughter, and she didn't answer. I got voicemail. I thought, how am I going to connect with her and get this gear to her? And then I called my other daughter, and I got voicemail. So I sat in my car, and I'm thinking, I don't know how this is going to work out. And in that instant, both of my daughters came walking through the parking lot to my car. It was like supernatural. I was like, how did they know I was here? How did they know where to find me? You know, how did it happen that all these things converged perfectly so that everything worked out?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I get it. And I'm like, my mind is going crazy because I'm like, remember when that happened and that happened? Like we all, I'm not the only one. You, every single person watching, you have all had an experience similar to Teresa's. And I think the thing is that we're so busy that we're not even paying attention to how magic happens in our life and how it happens for us. So this morning, I want you, those of you, especially those of you that have been feeling like, wow, I've been really enjoying the slower pace and the ease and the not worrying and stressing, but there's that part of you that's trying to tell you, you need to get back and hustle and bustle. You need to take advantage of the time and you need to be doing. And, you know, like, because you're in business and you're thinking, I can't be taking 3 months of just, you know, like I got to be doing something. I'm going to encourage you to implement the 4 steps that Teresa just shared with us today and stop and pause. First of all, stop making yourself wrong for enjoying time. That's step number 1. Do not make yourself wrong because you have the time to enjoy it. So that's number 1. And then, you know, implement this moment of pausing and asking for guidance and having complete faith that there's so many possibilities. I like to think, you know, I've not been able to travel as I usually do this summer, but one of the things that I noticed is it took me years to be comfortable that I was taking 2 months off, not working, meaning not creating anything new, because I felt like I have a business. I need my livelihood is from my business. I can't take 2 months off and not be creating anything. And over time, doing it year after year, I realized that I needed that time. And when I came back, the downloads I got in that time were way more powerful than if I was in busy work. So I get these incredible downloads in the summer, and then when I come back in the fall, it would be like I was on a new trajectory. I wasn't going like that. I would like take off to another level, because I had had that time. So I love that diagram. Can you show us again before we go, just so we can have it planted in our mind and we can remember, like, that's your choice, is the straight line that Teresa has with all the little circles, and you know how that feels like. You're just like over and over the same old, and it sucks. Or you can, pause and ask for guidance and look at all of the colorful possibilities that can exist. I love it. So any parting thoughts for us, Teresa?
Wow.
Oh, we're doing a lot of perfect timing. Love this. Your magic. Magic happens all the time. I love it.
Yeah. So I'll close with a quote here from A Course in Miracles, which talks about how time involves a shift in perception from the horizontal to the vertical. And it says, time has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent, we're talking about the miracle here, the holy instant, and the miracle has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. So it cuts out that portion of time where you had to address those challenges and obstacles and problems. It actually cuts that part out, and you no longer need to keep experiencing that.
And one of the things that I love on your email signature or in your bio, it says that you're really wanting to help people to stop suffering, right? And that's exactly what that circular thing that you have in your timeline where you're going like this is, that we're that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to solve it in here. We're trying to work harder. We're trying to do all this, which just makes us suffer, when we can have this miracle of the holy instant and have all that be cut out and have us just projected on all these other possibilities that exist, that cuts out the suffering. Like, who doesn't want that? So I want you guys.
Oh, you were talking earlier about how I had this magical life, and externally everything was fabulous, but internally I was always stressed out, and so I wasn't able to enjoy the fabulous life that I was living.
Yeah. Wow. So I want you guys. Say that again.
Now I have peace all the time. I never stress out and panic over things and worry that it's not going to work out. It's a whole different life.
Oh, I love it. Laura says she got a screenshot of it. So here's what I want you guys to do is please find Teresa McGallagher on Facebook. Become friends with her. She does, like, I happened to watch a Facebook Live that she was doing last week about this, and I was so intrigued. I was like, can you come on Monday? So she does Facebook Lives about A Course in Miracles, and really, I love A Course in Miracles, but sometimes for me, it's very abstract in understanding the application. So I love that Teresa really has conversations like this that makes it very practical and applicable for us to understand. And there's so many amazing, loving concepts in A Course in Miracles if you can get it and you can understand. So Teresa is a gift. Go find her on Facebook, follow her, watch her Facebook Lives. And if you can share your website, if people want to go learn more about you. It's in the email, by the way, those of you on our email list, her website is in the email that you got this morning. But Teresa, can you say it while we're on?
Yes, it's Herein Lies the Peace of God. It's www.hereinliesthepeaceofgod.com.
I love it. Herein lies the peace of God.com. All right, guys, go have an amazing rest of the week. Bend time. You are the master of time. Apply the holy instant and have colorful possibilities all week long. Mwah. Thanks, Teresa. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye. Oops. Let's see. There we go.